I feel like,
Wow.
with a lot of these.
We'll
And I hear the
see
sounds.
how deep we can get, right? It's time. We're finally underway. Apologies
It's
for the delay,
time.
folks. And as you may be noticing, it's the first appearance of this map today. We get into Dry River. That I'm once again going to tell Bidlin doesn't really look like a dry river. It just looks like puddles. Anyway, introducing the
this
folks,
map.
though. We've got
Sorry.
Hatsimale. That's fine. You're getting excited because, like, you haven't.
I
It's the
am.
first time you've seen it, right?
Yeah. Well, I've seen the map,
Well,
but
yeah, but like you've
I'm
seen the
just
map,
excited
but
about
like seeing
this
it in
map.
action. Exactly. So we've got
Yeah.
Hatsimale on the north side. He's in the red. He's going to be playing as HRE, and then Vertex. You can introduce him. He's your big boy, right? An AOE
He's a
one
Peruvian.
representative.
Yeah, our Peruvian legend from AoE. Extremely good. Ironically, on the team legend, very, very strong player, very strong team. Really big history there in the scene. So excited to see this opening. Was this what you expected? Barracks and an early dock from Hatsimale as well. Really spicy stuff here. So he scouted it and just responded. Interesting.
Yeah, and the funny thing is now you're in the situation like if you respond as Hatsimale with the same, you're responding from behind, right? You can't get your men at arms. You can't get your little boy arms until feudal age. So your only option now is to counter spears with spears. And if this turns into like this big vacuum, this vortex or vertex in the situation of spear on spear that drags into 10 plus, eventually an Abbasid player will get access to phalanx, at which stage your entire army gets disintegrated on the HRE side.
Yeah, and this is really interesting as well. The reason I oohed at the very start of the game was Hatsimale's map is not great for the Akin specifically. He can kind of get one on the Goldstone and the berries on the north side of his base, but compared to the map we saw with Dabston before, like this is very different, right? Like you're going to have a very exposed woodline to raids. Your gold in the back can be looped around on, so like there's not really a perfect spot for a tower in this situation. There's just kind of like you tower it and you deal with your opponent's reaction to that as two wolves come across the map
Yeesh.
trying to get to the Ville, not quite. Just backing up. They got a bite of him.
A
That
little
Ville
nibble.
just gonna. Is he?
No,
I know
no.
he's not torching the Ville.
But
I
it
know
looks
it's not,
like it,
but
right?
It looked like it. Yeah. It looked like it. And
Yeah,
now
you
he
know.
will go for the stabby, and a bit of a late reaction there from Somali. Gonna lose half the HP there. This could come into play later if horsemen come into the map, but unlikely. I guess there's a prelate at home. He'll just heal up. Never mind.
Yeah, but it's going to like idle your prelate out if you have to keep doing that. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's quite annoying. And
There's the
the
racks.
response.
Yep.
Oh boy. I mean, you just have to wonder if this will pay off in time. I mean, the dock has slightly more HP now, so these plays we haven't seen Spearmen be as successful as they used to be against early docks. But this is an interesting play.
So I actually think the only way this pays off now for Hatsi is if he pulls the prelate. If he pulls the prelate to heal in the fight, I think he can push this away. But the number advantage is now too big.
Yeah, I don't even think it's worth making Spearmen at this point.
No.
I feel like you just have to cut your losses. Like, otherwise you're going to be so late to Castle Age here. Feudal Age. Unless these fishing boats can somehow get you there. Is he training another fishing boat?
I think he is. That
Why? What's that timer? It doesn't say it.
it feels long,
Huh.
right? No, yeah, it is official. But why?
But why? That was my question. Why? Like, I don't think you want one here. But I mean, maybe he'll show us something different. Maybe he'll just redock it when the spears leave. I don't know. This feels like a weird reaction to
But
build
why?
one spearman against 6. But you could almost argue that Vertex might be getting caught into like over investing in this attack. But he's gonna get the burn going, and there's no villager for repairs, so this dock is done for the day. No more fish.
God. This is actually so much worse than is originally apparent as well. Like, consider the fact that gold vein is harassable in the HRE base, right? So you can get blocked out at home. Please, no God, don't do it. I mean, if you desperately try to get back on this lake, I'd understand because you have 2 fishing boats there. Which, by the way, I don't think you can have those fishing boats for long because if Vertex plays this right, he can just consistently torch down those fishing boats now. It's too small of a
I don't
pond.
think you care. I just don't think. I think you go to the gold. He's gonna care. If it takes too long, though, I think he just leaves. Yeah, he's just gonna say like whatever. They can't drop
Off
off.
we go.
They're gonna go on a journey here, and there's the scout just being annoying on the side there, and the economic wing already on the way there for Vertex. This position just looks so dominant right now, and the spite's just gonna go in his favor as well too.
Now, the only thing that's
Oh,
really
man.
missing is Vertex just needs to wrap north. He has to know. That's where the gold is. That's his priority. He could either try to block the secondary dot going up or just prevent Hatsimale from ever going up past Dark Age.
Yeah, if he's able to get there before a tower goes up, It'll be very, very brutal here. Not even on the gold yet, though. So Hatsimale gonna just contend against him one-on-one, and I think Vertex is gonna be okay with that. He sees this many spears. He knows he denied the dock. He's scouting the gold. Gonna see that he's just going to gold now with the mining camp being built. Oh my gosh, Hatsimale in some trouble here, and he's gonna even lead him into the new dock. Oh, that's so sad, because that's just gonna become a prime target in Feudal Agent. Yeah, he spots it just barely.
An extra
A
100
tower
wood.
even.
Oh man, yeah. For
Oh
an
no, the
outpost has
Vill's
never
gonna
go out.
die.
Is that the half
That Vill
HP
is-
Vill? There's no way. I mean, he ran it all the way back to base. If he brought out a half HP Vill, he was asking for this.
It's a new Vill. It's a new Vill.
Okay. He
And
did actually
this
get
Micro's
a
gonna...
good skirmish there, though, right? Because the way Vertex peeled off, he essentially gave spear advantage across to Hatsimale.
Yeah, but he's gonna be feudal in 20 seconds. Does he even care anymore? Look at that cheeky Micro trying to block the Vill. Not quite gonna get it.
The wolves.
But leading many.
What is this chaos?
This reminds me of some of the early like Ottoman Mongol games, or like way back on Mongolian Heights when it was like just China and Mongols just spamming spearmen, and you just had Dark Age, both players Dark Age with like 40 spearmen each, and it's just like, how do you beat this? And it was like archers.
You're like, you're gonna stop, right? No, I'm gonna keep going. You gonna stop? No, I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so we're like 30 spearmen in. Someone has to do something else, guys.
Looks like a large army from Vertex, but those units are all limping around the battlefield.
They are.
Just die, like they get stared at too long and they fall. Oh, look at, I just fell. I tripped over the berries and died. Like, this is kind of brutal. Getting that Hardened Spearman upgrade, even getting Phalanx to try and take an interesting engagement. There's a lot of micro potential there, but I'm not sure it'll exactly pay off.
Phalanx is really good here as well, because the Atri player is already got a Rax, right? So what's your follow-up play? You probably go for Men-at-Arms, but I always side with Phalanx Spearman over Feudal Age Men-at-Arms. It doesn't even feel close.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people look at like, oh, the Spearman's like a low DPS unit, like they think it's like very similar to the Archer, but against Man-at-Arms, that 8 base damage of the Hardened Spearman, or is that even like the Feudal Spearman? I forget the exact damage, but like they just have enough to pierce that armor, and it's just so strong. Like it's kind of a sneaky thing because you'd think that the Man-at-Arm beats the Spearman, and it does, question mark, right? But like it doesn't always.
In a one-on-one,
like
right? And it's like,
yeah.
The cool thing is, like, to that whole point you were saying, he's got all these injured spears. When you get Phalanx and you're up against only melee, you just stand behind the healthy units. And then, like, at scale, it gets even worse. Because if you're like, that unit, like, if I cough on him, he'll die. You have to run around the formation and all the way to the backside while you're being stabbed in the face.
But we will see the archery range, and now I think this starts to favor Abasted pretty heavily. They're gonna fare better in this matchup longer that this setup goes, right? Spearman, Archer, I think Abasted are just going to be a little more comfortable. Their macro is going to be a lot cleaner, and here we have that town center coming down somewhere, probably on the hunt to the south. That would be pretty far away, though. And oh, look at Phalanx also increases the torch range, so you can Kobe down those fishing boats, and down they go. Although,
do moments like this give you kind of flashbacks to that? The Phalanx
infinite decks, yes, yep. every time. You're
just like instantly just, I don't know, fishing on the backside, and all of a sudden torches get hurled from out of space.
So he's going for the TC on the north. Did he pull his Stonevilles though? No, looks like he's going to be greedy 3 TC.
Oh, he's going camels early on though.
Going to be the plan. Yeah, I think he'll be okay with this because his position is so ahead. But I mean, don't be deceived by HRE, right? That the Aaken's up, it's pumping away on the wood line. Like, this Archer gets scary fast. Wherever Man-at-Arm, with enough units, you can kind of brute force through camels. So it could get dicey.
It does look like Hatsi is going to play a prolonged feudal, by the way. Getting wheelbarrow is usually kind of a sign of that. Most HRE players, if they're optimizing castle, don't want to waste the resources of the time stopping off for techs like that.
Is he on the berries? I think he's even on the berries.
He
this
is
getting dire. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how many Men-at-Arms he can squeeze out on berries. He's got 300 food per minute. You got to spend a lot of that on the TC. Like, yeah, things are getting rough there. Those aren't even with the Aaken, right? That's what I was saying about his base earlier. The Aaken chapel placement is not good for him. He did not have a good map for it. Oh my gosh, King Smurf coming in with the 20 gifted, but there's a battle on the screen.
There is. You know, in true to the name, we've got blue in the game. Thank you, King Smurf. We're focused on this blue boy over here. I mean, the Spearman exchange looks good at the start for Hatsimale, but I'm getting worried about the Camel Archers. Like, can you afford to keep pushing Men-at-Arms and get the necessary amount of archers to counter this?
it has to be double range here from him, and I think he's already on that, but it's going to get spicy. It also opens you up to a horseman switch later if Vertex can get his economy sorted, which he kind of is in the background. That third TC just moments away. Triple range, though, to deal with that, and that could get scary for Vertex quickly, but the Archer's not going to have a ton of offensive pressure right away.
And
It'll take them some
Vertex,
time to format.
look at the cost to him here. He's building 2 more camel archers. They are pretty expensive on the wood side per unit, and you're in a situation where you actually need to get a lot of wood because he's trying to go for that third TC. He's holding on to 566 stone right now with no way of using it. That's essentially dead eco at this stage.
Yeah, a bit of an overdraft, but you're not really going to be regretting that long term because you can always build into that. It's also like if the game somehow stalls out, you can go to Castle Age and drop a keep somewhere. But yeah, you're definitely right. That's not ideal. We'll see if that comes into play though. I think he had enough of a lead to get away with the play like that, like kind of greedily storing up that stone. Like, oh, I can't wait till I defend this, and then add a third TC. I'll be so ahead. Right? That's his logic for sure.
I love the fact that Vertex also sent the Spearman to the base because now he just needs to stop food, right? Like, you know, if Hatsi keeps gathering at home, you can't stop this men-at-arms churn. You'll lose to it eventually because it's just too expensive to get the camel archers up quickly. But if he can't find food, you essentially stop the war machine from churning.
Yeah, and it looks like Vertex did a good job of like really getting that that TC with snug with a lot of the deer. Oftentimes you could see a player having to build a mill, but in this case it's going to be really hard without a ram to do much meaningful damage here, and it looks like that dock will get denied. I don't know if Vertex is going to be too upset about that. I don't think there's a ton of value in these shorefish, to be honest, at this stage.
No,
Vertex is just
especially
gonna go
when you need more wood for another TC potentially. Like, you know, maybe don't build a dock and have to go fishing.
You see how quickly Vertex's food spiked
It's
up?
ridiculous.
The archers aren't doing any damage right now. So Vertex is like, all right, you're gonna go 3 range archer. I just don't need to care, and I will just go castle. The fights against the man-at-arms are gonna be tough with the archers supporting, but he can always kite back to the TC and defend. I mean, Hatsimale needs to do damage now, and I don't think he's gonna get it in time.
The crazy part is Vertex hasn't actually gone for any techs. Like, he went for this kind of optimal timing to try and get castle age, but he ended up with a lot of extra food. To that point, I think it was because he has probably like 12 people on deer. And we all know how like deer screws your timings, right? Because when you're gathering sheep, you kind of have that gradual climb in food. You feel good. When you do deer, like I've talked to players about this, like when they do Altai, it feels weird because you stick everyone on deer straight away. You're like, I think I'm optimal my timings. And then they realize they've got like 200 excess food out of nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, this is so smart from Vertex, taking a false smaller army with a little bit of mobility and just running this entire army from Hatsimale around the entire map. They have gone from the TC to the south of Vertex's base and now back to his base. This has been the least efficient archer usage you could really get for going for this massive wall off. He's going to be so surprised by this castle age, I think. I don't think he sees it coming the way he's playing.
Winston, you're an HRE player in this situation. You've been Benny Hillsing for like over a minute now. How much do you wish you just got marching drills first instead?
I don't know. Like,
because he hasn't got it, right?
Help?
Like
it would help. It would help. That's true. But I don't know. I think when you see this castle age, I think you resign.
Go next.
Like, this is gonna be triple. Like, this is gonna be 3 stable knights coming out here. Like, and your army is where? Oh, it's so brutal to be in Hatsimale's position. Vertex really just played that quite well, I have to say. Like you could see a situation where this army could have done a lot of damage to Vertex, right? Like, Vertex has 2 units. 3, sorry. There's a 3rd camel archer somewhere.
He's probably off murdering villages or something. It's either that or he just fresh spawned. Oh, there he is. Yeah, he's keeping the rest of the army busy. Don't mind me, boys. Just dragging around 30 units that can't touch me. And instantly Vertex is going to prep not only the knights, but also the crossbows.
Yeah, going into that ideal armor, anti-armor composition. It's quite strong against HRE. Has some weakness at times, but if he can get to, you know, that 10 crossbow, 20 knights situation, maybe the other way, right? 20 crossbow, 10 knights. Like, this army will fall flat fast, especially with Vertex now teching into a lot of these upgrades. Camel archers also.
Jeez. We're in desperation mode, folks. Hatsimale knows it's win now or never.
Yeah, and Vertex on 400 stone, so he did something with his stone. I'm not sure what, but he did something there. And he's going to run right into these. So those camel archers are dead just before they get upgraded. Could almost see him canceling the camel archer upgrade here, but he might not get there in time.
Okay, no, he's just gotta let it run through. I think he went culture wing though, right? So no, he went military wing. So
Even Mill, yeah,
yeah,
boot camp on the way potentially could be huge here, and that's a big transition to Barry. Vertex doesn't have a lot of food in the bank right now. If those berries get shut down, things could get dicey, but also a contingent of villagers moving to the deer on the south, unlikely to get spotted by the immobile army of Hatsimale. The Rams find some value here.
yeah, they'll be able to get rid of the dock. The TC is going to be a harder matter here. You don't really want to commit the few men at arms you have into torching because they are linked in, so they get an extra +5 fire armor. So you need to try and camp behind the Rams here. But with only 2 spearmen, these knights are mighty spooky. Crossbows now moving in. He's going to try to defend with limited numbers here. Vertex potentially jumping the gun unless the knights can get in. It looks like they will be able to, but the town center is going to be forfeited.
Yeah, really smart actually. Vertex did actually take a lot of time to snipe the spearmen out, so the knights are just gonna have a completely free time here. I don't know if you guys caught that, but there were a couple spearmen and the TC and the crossbow sniped them out quickly, really cleanly. There's even man-at-arms in the mix here. This army from Hatsimale is just gonna do no damage to the units, so good choice here, just trying to take out the vills while he can, try and tie up that eco lead, but still, even with these vills going down, it's gonna be about a 10 vil lead for Vertex.
And usually you say, well, they're going to find more. Now, usually you'd say, oh, HRE, though, you know, they've got better gathering rates. But remember, this is still a feudal age HRE, a very unusual state of affairs to say that the HRE player is the one lagging behind in tech.
Well, you say better gather rates, but that's a conditional effect, right? You need prelates and you need the Aachen. Where did he build his Aachen and where are his prelates? It's a trick question, right? There's no prelate on the berries, there's no prelate on the gold, and the woodline might not even be getting buffed anymore by the Aachen. So yeah, this is going to be devastating. Really smart play here from Vertex to pull the knights out of the fight, realizing he'd cleaned it up eventually. The berries.
I mean, he's going to lose plenty of villages. Like, I don't know if anyone gave him the memo, but this way not lies safety. You're running away from the base, sir.
Yeah. These archers could find some value up there, but much more devastating is these knights. No castlage in sight, 700 food in the bank. Needs to make army to survive, and Hatsimale on the... He just didn't notice. He's got problems, man.
Hey,
when you're this busy, this stuff happens.
Just click one of the knights, look away. Like, he needs any small value he can get right now, because if this just turns into the state of affairs, right, even if he doesn't lose villages, it doesn't matter. Vertex is grabbing everything on the map, and what I'm worried about is not only that Hatsimale now has to invest 1,800 resources in a tech up, he needs to make a full farm transition at this rate, because there's no way you can get on food sources outside of these shoreline fish that are already occupied with fishing boats.
Have you seen the food of Vertex? Have you seen this? Thank you. Thank you. Like, he's just floating so much. Those berries kicked in hard, dude. And so did the hunt on the bottom. Everything just started working for him. And so, even if you find some disruptance, there's going to be 100 man-at-arms on the field very, very soon. I mean, he's got more in queue, knights as well.
Well, let's be totally honest, right? It's not surprising that the bastards have this much food. They don't feed their people, you know? 25 food to make a full adult doesn't really sound like they're getting their 5 a day, you know?
Well, imagine being like a horseman or an archer. You don't even get paid. You just get wood and some bread. Like, I prefer to be.
But they want that bread, okay? They really want that bread.
Yeah, and the GG gets called. Man, yeah, I just don't see how the Regnitz is going to do anything there. And man, Vertex. Like, I feel like he just got away with a lot of stuff there, right? Like, in that mid-feudal age, when Vertex was just like taking time to go castle, it wasn't like a particularly fast timing there, right? Like, he had like 3 camel archers running 30 units around. Very brutal there for Hatsimale to look back on that. What's he gonna have to do to like mentally recover, in your opinion?
So I think a big thing to kind of shake off there is Hatsimale should realize the biggest issue is how he baited himself with the docks. Right, I say this so often with water hybrid maps, especially if it's only shoreline fish. Now, if you go for the docks first, you give your opponent an option. And I think what we just saw there is a preview of what will become the regular for a map like this. All the water sources are in the center. So if you anticipate that someone's going to be going water at all, just play the spears. Just open up with a few spears. As an ambassador player, you don't mind going for a racks and a few spears falling short because you'll eventually come back in with a men-at-arms spam at the beginning of Castle Age anyway. Like, I think that the big thing for Hatsimale to focus on now is, you know, Dry River, people still figuring it out, bit funky. Let's move forward and look to something more familiar. Let's maybe look forward to Dry Arabia, go for something that I am familiar with because I've played the crap out of the ladders, and then kind of mentally reset from there.
For the benefit of the viewers, it goes to the loser of game one, right? Who grabs the map?
Yes, so
Asking for a
Hatsimale
friend.
has Dry Arabia or
Yeah, okay,
Rocky Canyon.
just double checking.
Yeah, yeah.
Just double checking.
Actually, in fairness, he could go Rocky Canyon as well because unless he hasn't looked at the water sources, he'll know that there's no fishing to be done there. But it is going to be Dry Arabia.
Yeah.
I think this is a good choice for him. Like Vertex, definitely no pushover. He's played just as much of standard AoE 4, but as we mentioned, Hatsimale has been on a grind. He's got 2 accounts at the top 100. Sometimes these new maps really catch you off guard because a big part of playing Age of Empires 4, playing most RTSs, right, is that familiarity, almost like I don't want to say muscle memory because it's more than that, but it's like it's instinct to do what you've done before, right? Like when you've played Dry Arabia 1,000 times, you probably know most of the openings for all the matchups for at least like the first 50 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw that in the first set, right, with Pale.
Mhm.
Like the first game was like kind of weird, wonky, like on Canal, and then the second two games looked much closer to like what you might expect on a ladder game, and that comfort level skyrocketed. The execution, the strategy, and the build order all looked super intentional and really well put together. And we could see that here from Hatsimale. I'm not sure he's the higher seeded player, so you got to expect some level of like real strength, like you're saying, on his ladder wins as well. Translating to Dry Arabia here, should be where he's most comfortable, and that should be where we see something spicy.
Wow.
English versus Mongols is a matchup.
Now, this is surprising for multiple layers, right? Like, I don't think these are two cities we've been seeing that popular at the moment. Like, both players still had access to Delhi. One of them had access to Ottomans. Both had access to French. These all seem like viable picks for Dry Arabia. But by picking English here, it does mean that you don't have it for Holy Island, which is, I've already mentioned at the start of this series, is like an S
Wait,
tier pick there.
I thought that's why Vertex banned English. Wait,
No, no,
did
no.
I get it backwards again?
Yeah, yeah. So Hatsimale banned English from
Banned
Vertex.
English.
So if it's on
Oh, I
their
thought it was the
side,
other way
they
around.
can't play it. Just that's the easy way to remember it.
Okay, so So Vertex drafted Holy Island, and then Hatsumale kind of sniped English off that for him.
Yeah.
Interesting that he feels he has to pick it up here now. Maybe he was valuing Holy Island with English, but
Hmm.
realizing he's down 1-0, he just has to play to win on Arabia here.
You know what it might be is like his thought process might be that he feels that there's a possibility of French coming out here, and if that happens, you have French Holy Island, your opponent doesn't. I think that the bigger takeaway is like if you become very kind of one dimensional and Holy Island English, Vertex is going to keep saving French because I do think French is the best civ to answer that matchup, right? Because if your opponent does go for men at arms early on, who blocks you on the fishing, you just rush your fuel age, you get 1 or 2 knights out, and all of a sudden, any heavy investment into men at arms early on is completely offset.
That's true. I think that's a really good idea. French there could be strong, but English Mongols now on Arabia.
Yes, and like
How do
it's
you play
rough.
this as English? Do you just turtle?
Yeah, like
You give Mongols map control then for trade, right?
mhm.
And that's just so potent right now.
Well,
Do you not do anything in feudal?
remember the trade isn't optimal straight away because I mean you can speak to this maybe on the dev side. At least I've noticed more recently compared to old Dry Arabia. Seems like probably more than 50% of the time the neutral trade post spawns right behind your base. Like not in the corners, but like basically just behind you.
Is this a special version of Arabia, or is this just
This is
standard, like
standard.
the
I've
regular
watched
method?
like on the ladders, it happened so many times recently. Like it's basically
Yeah,
slightly off to the side, but it's like if you started the trade where you built the silver tree, you get like 1 gold or 2 gold for it.
yeah. I wasn't sure if there was a change to that, but
Mm.
from what I remember from like the classic version, it just randomly. So
Yeah.
that's just like bias of recency.
Okay.
Recency bias is what it's called. I mean, because it is random, it's actually quite unlikely you'll get exact corners, right?
Definitely.
So it makes sense that you won't have optimal trade. But even then, like with the silver tree, I don't even think you need optimal trade for it to be an optimal strategy, right? It's super potent, and I feel like English is one of the worst civs at punishing it.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, they have their own tempo that they're playing into, right? With that castle age timing, with all their defenses, with all the scaling that they have, like they're not really too scared about it. But I'm scared for that or late feudal, early castle timing that
Yeah.
Mongols can get with if that first trade goes through, it can be so brutal. So
Yeah.
looking forward to the
It's
trade posts.
the interesting part to me is like it does make the Mongols play one dimensional, right? Because you can't go for an outpost rush against the English. Like if you want to know why you don't do that, folks, just go try it right now. Like one game on the ladder, and you'll come back and say, "I'm sorry, I'll never do it again." Like there is not a worse Civ to outpost rush than the English for anyone, let alone the Mongols. So you become kind of predictable in that if you do go mass trade, you're going to need to build horsemen to defend. Like there's no argument it has to kind of be horsemen wrapped in. If you're going fast castle, like the English player can try to get a few longbows and block the trade, or he can just try to go and match your fast castle timing, which I don't think the English are necessarily bad at doing that, especially if he just for free goes onto the deer that sometimes you get a really close spawn to your Dry Arabia starting point on.
Yeah, if English are allowed to turtle and still get the resources that they want and not really have to invest a ton into defenses, they can definitely become a powerhouse in the castle age. So could definitely see something scary there. Armor clad, really brutal for Mongols at times to deal with because that big crossbow mass is kind of like not really in the identity of Mongols, but it works if you have to, like you can. It's just you'd like to be a bit more mobile on the map to be able to defend everything, and kind of having to play into English's hands is definitely not going to be ideal for Mongols if we get to that stage.
Let's see. We're just 2 minutes away. For anyone tuning in wondering who the hell these two are, we're already bigging up Vertex. He comes from AoE1. Hatsimale has been hard on the grind on AoE4 as well. He's got 2 accounts in the top 100. Whoever wins here will make it into Golden League 2. A $70,000 tournament taking place over several weeks. Lose here, there are no do-overs. You had your do-overs yesterday because this is the second qualifier. But by the end of the day, we will have qualified 24 more players through. 64 players in total. And by the way, that $70,000 prize pool, even if you come 64th, okay? Even if you are the doormat for everyone walking over you, you'll still get something. You get like, I don't know, like the equivalent of probably an Amazon gift card. I don't think it'd be much. But you would have got some money for your time.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at
1 minute away.
I'm looking at how this is going to play out as we go on, because actually by picking English here, like it's kind of weird actually, because the English would have been good on both of Vertex's drafted maps. But we mentioned Holy Island, but I think also Basin, because it's so turtly, it's also a really smooth choice for the English there as well. Maybe he just thinks he can, like maybe he just kind of feels confident in English on Dry Arabian and sees this as kind of a morale boost needed. Because you don't want to be 2-0 down, right? So maybe this is him putting his strongest foot forward.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's just thinking best civs. Like I don't know his gameplay. I don't know like what civs he favors in general on the ladder. I'd have to look that up. But if he's just feeling comfortable on English, you have to put it here, right? You're in a best of 3 situation. You go down 2-0.
Okay,
I mean,
he
best of 5
plays.
situation.
So his most played civs are English on both of his accounts. The other one is, interestingly, as appears here, Ottomans, which should have seen that coming. Sometimes you don't know your opponent. All you do is just AoE4 world, check what his most played civ is, and then enter that as your ban, which is what happened here. But other one at least gets through as we hop into game number 2.
Yeah, and here we are, Mongols versus English. Vertex spotting in the north corner with the Mongols and Hatsimale in the south with English. The map's looking. Oh, you were right.
Yep.
Look at that.
I
Exactly
told you,
50-50
I
on the
swear.
trade post. That's uncanny.
It's like 70% of the games I look at on the ladders right now, this happens. I don't know if someone did happen. Like, it's kind of like, you know, when the conspiracy theory is about that Altai somehow got added twice into the map pool? Maybe someone happened here unintentionally, but it feels like most games I watch on Dry Arabia at the moment, you get this center neutral trade post instead of the corners.
What is this? So we're getting a drush early.
Wait, what?
Usually the plan here with English on this game plan against Mongols is to deny the Uvu. Is you can kill it or deny the gold if it's far away. The Uvu not going to be on the table. The gold, there's potential there. And a stable for Vertex. Oh boy, we're going to get spicy here. Man at Arms versus the Horsemen. So we got the unique matchup. No one going to be making Spearmen today. You thought last game was fun? Well, this game we got even more Dark Age shenanigans for you, because this micro looks jank when it happens.
This is such a gamble out of Hatsimale, though. Like, you know, the play he's making, there used to be a time where the Men at Arms play, when you done the Dark Age, the baby arms, I like to call it, it was so blind that it was rolling the dice. People found ways of refining it to make it kind of return more value. But when you do it against the Mongols, you know how it is. Sometimes a Mongol player just gets everything under the TC, and the Men at Arms player is pointless. Luckily for him, there's 2 gold veins, but I feel like if you build enough horsemen, these boy arms do nothing.
really interesting. I almost wonder if they studied each other's games, or
Hmm.
I wonder if this is just how Vertex likes to play. Because I mean, look how he's played both these games. It's like he knew Hatsimale was going to build the dock, and then it's like he knew that the Drusher's coming. He clearly understands a bit like what to expect here. I feel like he's just kind of had the number on the strat. Someone in chat mentioned as well, but like the horsemen actually do quite well against these Vanguard Man at Arms, I believe
Yeah.
they're called. So yeah, these
It,
very early boys
it's
don't have a lot of stats.
it's 8 damage versus I believe the Dark Age ones got buffed a while back, right? So I think they're at 7, 8. Sorry, yeah, 8.
Yeah.
So 8, you have slightly bigger health pool, and I think you have 2 armor on the Dark Age Men at Arms. Sorry, 3. Okay, yeah, that's right. It got buffed a while ago. I recall that now.
Yeah. Yeah. But you have two. You get two at the price of one, so you're not sacrificing your feudal timing as much, horseman, and you have mobility to pressure your opponent if they go to a greedy resource like the gold a little more easily.
And you
Oh
also
my
just get to
gosh.
choose. Like this is why I say
Yeah.
feudal and before horsemen are the goated unit. Like they are an S tier unit. We can talk about knights, sure, whatever, but like horsemen because they can deny scouts visibility, then only unit can chase them down. And then maybe if they wiggle in, they're able to easily just pinch villagers. Or if you make cheesy plays like the Dark Age Men at Arms, snipe you out for free and probably never lose a horseman in return.
Yeah, and he can always go and pressure the gold here, which looks like that's going to be the next plan, or the next step of the plan. And I think he's just content with the two Vertex is, so it's going to be moving out with this. Looking to macro up soon. There's no pressure on his gold anymore, and that that sad man at arm. You can see that little red dot going home. That's so sad. What's
It's like,
this opening?
Daddy, what do I do now? I don't know, buddy. Come home. Call it.
I feel like it could be. Oh well, I guess the
Oh,
English
that's-
village can kind of defend, but it's not an ideal use of time
No.
to be hitting the horseman with
It-
the pierce armor and
It
everything.
looked like he baited him a little there. So Vertex, because Hatsi started pulling away, I think Vertex assumed he already had enough gold. He actually didn't. So if he committed the horseman, he would have delayed the tech up timing slightly. This is so
Yeah, and
annoying.
here's the
though.
council hall. Yeah, he gets the click though. He'll be fine. He'll be. Got the council hall coming down. No surprises there. Two more horsemen join the fight. So yeah, Vertex invested a little more before clicking up, and there's that silver tree still going to be tried and true, even though the trade posts are about as unoptimal as you could ask for.
Yeah,
Still going to be going for it.
You can't even get 2/3 of the map. It's more, you get like 3/5 maybe. It'll be okay trade, but it's not going to be like, I don't think it's going to be 2 traders gets you enough to instantly get you Castle Age.
What if you like put it way over in the right?
Yeah, I was about to say you want him to.
Like what if
It's
he
a
tried
gamble.
that? Like I'm not saying it's a good idea, but it's an idea. It exists. It's on the table because
Okay, hear me out.
it's not like. Okay, I'm hearing.
So, what you do is you actually put it in the northern corner, and you scout Hatsimale's base. And if Hatsi doesn't play right side, you trade with his trade post right next to his base.
Tried stuff like this before, and I can confidently say it feels sneaky when the trader is going there, and it feels shitty when the trader dies coming back. Like it just never works the way you want it to.
But
like
in fairness,
you
he's
can't really
got horsemen, right?
trade.
Like my thought process is he's got the mobility. Like typically when someone has horsemen, the other player becomes paranoid about leaving their base, right? And you can't freely scout if you're Hatsimale because 4 horsemen, like if you run into them with that scout, he's like dead in 10 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're gonna see Vertex trading to that trade post, but that would be like a total Chad move. And he could. You never know. This solo man at arms has not gotten a lot of value, but maybe getting some damage on the horsemen as they go into TC range. Oh, that one just gets blown up there. All the Garrisonville shooting at once.
Don't you just love how the English somehow even from Dark Age, discovered Gatling gun technology? It really explains how they took over a lot of the known world.
Yeah, it's a. Oftentimes it's like a little known fact about history, right? But you know, this game is very true to that.
Yeah,
right? we had to
so
document it as best we could.
we only lost the 100-Year War because we thought it'd be dishonorable to use the Gatling guns in that one. That was, otherwise, Europe looks very different.
He's going. Where? He's going to the north
Yeah,
of
he's
the Silver
shuffling.
Tree. Ah, sad.
I'm telling, like, because now you have flexible options. You can try to push east, but if you see this, your opponents go full aggro, then now you just push it to your own neutral. Because here's the cool thing about Dry Arabia that I love Silver Tree for. These wood lines, the way they usually spawn, they create these natural walls. Like, actually, half of the trade distance is protected by the way the map spawned.
That's true, but there's a bit of danger here coming into the base now of Vertex as The longbows and the spearmen move out. There's just enough to kind of counter anything that Vertex throws at him. Some archers brewing up at home defensively. We'll see if this gold can really get punished. There's an outpost there, so unlikely you're going to find damage this early.
Oh.
But the archers just kind of chilling. Could get sniped here. They're going to get spotted, and Vertex notices right away, but still takes some chip damage. Those longbows can be very effective trying to sneak in, find an angle against the Bills.
Oh, nice wiggle in. Comes around the backside, tries to cut reinforcements. Unfortunately, the spearmen were there, so heavy damage to their horsemen. Now, one awkward part for Vertex is that archery range placement. Because he's put it forward to the Uvu, if Hatsimale ever camps on the edge here, he can actually snipe new archers as they spawn.
Yeah, this is... Yeah, this is brutal. I mean, as Mongols, you can always move that though, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it if it does become a problem. But you know, it's just cumbersome and annoying to have to do so. Yeah, only 72 resources per trip there, or 70, I think. Not a ton. It'll get a little better once he gets enough traders to unlock the next tier.
But
of
it's
Silk
for
Road, but-
free. Well, apart from paying for them. Like, as in, Hatsimale
Yeah.
doesn't know, or doesn't care. He hasn't moved his army, and
No.
this is one big downside of the English, right? Especially when your opponent's trading behind your base. The English are very static. They don't like to move around the backside of the base. These horsemen, and this is deceptive. You think Vertex looks strong, but he's not. Most of these horsemen are limping around, coughing on their last breath.
Yeah, this fight's going to start to look really good for English, and if a villager ever sneaks up here, we could see a really fortified position with that tower providing network of castles. So Vertex kind of has to play it a little edgy to try and make sure that this position doesn't become too fortified, but I think that time's passed. I think the village should be coming forward now, right? Like, you have to place the outpost, or maybe you're thinking you could just go castle behind this and back off, but against the trade, you kind of need to start doing damage soon.
I also love this outpost, not just because it defended his gold, but let's think about the other thing that outpost done for Vertex. These horsemen are so much quicker to wind on the flanks, because remember, even though he went Silver Tree, Yam does still affect cavalry the moment you start building outposts.
Yeah, he has that one there, so able to kind of sneak around the side here, around the back again, trying to cut reinforcements. And that could be quite effective soon, although it looks like Hatsimale keeping his reinforcements at home and sending them in batches, it looks like. Not seeing any guys streaming across right now, and he moves in again on the gold mine. Both players do. Both players back away.
This is still better for Vertex, though, because Hatsimale, like, he's massing forces, but he's not doing anything. He's not actively preventing economy, and we know that trading's happening. We know how busted it could be, and you did mention, you know, as more of these traders come out, even though it's not the greatest of returns per trader per trip, it is going to escalate via that unique perk the Mongols have.
Yeah, it's just a really tricky, like how do you say, macro? It's a thin line that you're trying to play with Mongols right here. These traders do add up as you pay for them, right? The cost is there, and like you're saying, this trade route hasn't been. This isn't the most optimal trade. This is like 60% of the distance you need to go, and so it's just not ideal. So Vertex needs to be making sure he's not getting caught by overinvesting, and I think I like that so far from him. He only has like 5 or 6 traders right now. Not overinvesting, needs to keep making army, and does so as well. And I think that'll keep him from dying here, because it could get really dicey if he suddenly has too many traders and not enough army right away. That gold can't really immediately be used by Mongols at times, especially if he's not getting any techs, which he hasn't.
You may notice, like, Vertex, he's not exactly massing horsemen, right?
Oh.
He's actually trying to shortchange it, because his goal here is actually to try and get enough archers to answer the main army. In the meantime, the horsemen are just kind of a preventative tool. And Hatsimale, I don't know if he knew about it. He finally checked for the backside to see how much trade is going on, but now the question mark, because of how slow your army is, how do you get around the back and prevent this?
Yeah, that's true. How does he get there? Especially with that outpost is really nice there on that forward gold from Vertex. But you know what else I just noticed? When we panned over the English base of Hatsimale, he's not really playing a standard game here, is he? He's kind of really all-inning on the long.
Yeah.
We know the longbows are really expensive wood-wise, but look at that farm count. It's a big fat 0.
Wow.
And usually at this point, you expect, like, an English player who's expecting to, like, contend you in Castle Age needs to be at 8 farms at least by now, right?
But the thing is, he's doing this against horsemen, so he can't just go play pocket eco, especially when you've got this static force committing, which he is now going to commit into the outpost. That's going to force a reaction on Vertex. Now, remember, he hasn't got his horseman army here, so somewhat weak in comparison, but forced to fight nonetheless. Villagers might come out to a grisly death, but Lombo's mostly distracted. It just feels like a win there for Hatsimale. Now, if he can wrap around from here, if he can breach north, he'll be able to find, I believe, a berry patch as well as the trade route. And that's when the game gets really uncomfortable for Vertex.
Yeah, but if it ever gets too uncomfortable, the horseman can quickly rotate back and threaten the longbows. He just lost a huge amount of his spears, so I kind of agree with his decision to back up here. Because if he loses the spears to that archer mass of Mongols of Vertex, those horsemen will just have a field day. Although it's not enough to really wipe convincingly that number of longbows. It's with the archer support, it could be.
Okay, Hatsimale is now finally walling it up, so he respects the cavalry is still an issue he needs to address. But that will kind of tick the worry here, right? Like, I think there's actually still a world in which he can convert to a castle age timing that's decent off of those deer stacks, as they are only now being touched for the first time.
Yeah, but Vertex already sitting on 600 food, well producing units. His economy is much cleaner. I mean, look at the income. He's over double the income, I think, right now.
I mean,
If
look
you
at
just
the
look at
military
it.
as well. Like,
Yeah,
he's not that far
this is-
behind.
Yeah, and the horsemen are a more expensive unit than the spearmen archers, but they will just kind of get picked off at this stage. He's lacking the pierce armor upgrade. No, he got the pierce armor upgrade.
Yeah,
It's just those
also
longbows
passive production,
damage.
right? Like the stone is adding into this, so he can afford to lose a few horsemen and still actually be ahead of Hatsimale.
Yeah, just kind of getting in the way there. The longbows kind of having a good time, though. This has been a good fight for them. They've dealt a lot of damage, and Vertex just kind of hard committing here into this fight.
Oh, he's baiting him.
He might end up
cavalry's in.
losing. Oh, boy. Forcing the longbows back is good. Uses the move speed arrow as well to close the gap with the archers.
Wait, he's going to lose the whole army. Like, there's not enough spears here. He needs to finish off the archers or just get the hell out of dodge. This has been great micro from Vertex, just dragging these spearmen around, and they barely got to touch anything.
Yeah, and now he's just going to take the engagement, hard commit now. The longbows have to retreat. The archer's just going to easily clean up the spearmen here. The castle age timing looks really close, just a minute away from Mongols if they wants to wait. Vertex could get it. Really good micro as well. Just stabbing. The archers go down. The longbows.
And there's nothing left of the army. Like, that's a full reset in a situation where Hatsimale sure is getting all this food, but now you have to rebuild an army. The paranoia is there. If you stop for a second and say, I just need Castle to get back in this game, Vertex will beat the punchline, but he also has an army that can do serious damage to your home.
He also has gold income for when that does happen. And now we see some movements. A new Uvu has been built, so Vertex not sleeping on the micro here. I mean, the macro here, well committing to all that micro. I mean, look at the text. He's got 3 blacksmith upgrades, just missing the melee armor. Has the food upgrade. He's completely outclassing right now.
Winston, I'm not going to let this one slide. Can we go back and check that TC again, the English base? Because I've got questions to ask about those farm placements.
Let's check.
What the? What?
Well, there were the berries on the south. I could explain that one. Oh, was he trying to do the big brain 10 fit? Yeah. Well, I'm trying to justify this. I don't know.
Oh, this hurts. Because, like, even if he places a mill now next to the TC, like, it's not optimal, right? You just want to put the farms right next to the TC and then mill. Like, in theory, it's good because he's utilizing the mills he's already got. But he has 2 mills there.
Oh yeah, and I love this from Vertex following up with the curl tie. So I know you're a little PTSD'd from yesterday because Striker's game became a very long, battered game at the end of the day. But here, Vertex, I think, is the positioning and honestly the micro to pull this off. Just get the con involved. Make sure you don't forget. Man-at-Arms are super good with the curl tie because buffing that torch damage and that healing on their durability really ticks in. And so you can just kind of pop this in the middle of their base and get a lot of value out. I'm not exactly sure where he's going to hit first. Is it going to be kind of on the north near those wood lines? That's kind of where the army's chilling. Castle Age, not even close for Hatsimale. He's got nobody on gold, no gold income. He's all in feudal to hold this, and he doesn't even have every upgrade. He doesn't have the armor. He doesn't have pierce armor. So if Vertex gets any ranged units, any melee units decently upgraded to Castle Age, this is just going to be over as the curl tie skips and hops forward. Healing up those horses.
All right, I'm back. I walked away when we started talking about Kurultai. Did I miss anything actually important?
Yeah. You didn't. I did a whole thing. It's fine. No, you're good. You're good. I know you had PTSD. I'm sure you need to just lie down, close your eyes, and picture your happy place. But we're back, man. Here it comes.
You know what my happy place is watching Mongols lose because of
wheelbarrow.
No, this doesn't. You can't even explain it even more so now with the new farm placements. This is rough, man. I think Hatsimale just got a little bit distracted, and it really has. led to some suboptimal farming. And he needs to be mass farming, right? Like, he can't access deer anymore. That transition is ahead of him. It's a cheap one for the English, but it's still going to sting considering you're playing a whole age behind in a situation where Vertex really isn't that far behind your military pop cap. And also, that archer upgrade could come through by the time he commits to the main fight. Even with network of castles, it might not be enough for Hatsimale to hold outright.
Yeah, no, and Vertex can just afford to poke here. He can afford to say, okay, you're all in feudal. I guess he doesn't even know that yet. So he might be worried, actually. If Vertex is probably expecting, like, top-tier English macro, you kind of have to. And that would mean Castle Age is coming in now. Upgrades are coming in now. They have everything. They have the Ecotex, but that just hasn't been happening behind the scenes. So Vertex kind of baited a bit into maybe overextending. But we'll see. There's a bit of a, I think, a Knight Raid on the right side there. Keeping those vills. Oh, the Khan. Just the Khan.
Khan. He's a knight to himself. 3
vills.
Yeah. He's butcher. By the way, to your whole point, right? Like, I think I agree. Like, Hatsimale's like, you know, he doesn't know how bad it is. Vertex like, oh, he should have great macro. It's the English after all. But if he ever gets to that south side of the TC and sees those farms, that's when he knows.
I don't want to repeat what he might say. Just gotta keep it PG. I think part of it is, like, I mean, you can't really, like, fault Hatsimale there. I mean, I've played against Vertex in AoE1, not in AoE4, I don't think. His micro is dazzling, so it can stun you. And I think just remember how long that exchange was, where you had to keep chasing, you had to keep perfectly positioning your spearman against Vertex's horseman. Vertex is just a very fast player, right? So you have to. He had to do that well microing. Maybe it was just like, I just need farms now so I can click it. Oh boy, he's gonna spot the King's Palace, and that is 32 villagers. Well, he needs crossbows. He needs a unit that can deal with these man-at-arms, or his whole economy is going to be idled.
Mate,
it's units or bust.
God, I mean, that's not a town center. At this point, that's a temple. They were worshipping it more than just building it. But, like, the fact that he had to idle that much is going to cost him dearly now trying to transition. Like, what do you have to go? You probably have to go to men-at-arms. That should be your play, right? Men-at-arms on men-at-arms, your attack speed buffer you can hold. But that's going to take time. In a situation where you have, like, what, 2, possibly 3 racks?
Vertex is actually playing this really clean behind this as well. If you look at his micro, or sorry, his macro, he's grabbing the relics right now. Like, he's doing everything right now. It seems. Look at the resource.
The trade?
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad.
All going well for him, and he's going to be very content.
He's also on the second deer stack.
Settle in.
Yeah, so this is the cool thing that I love that he's doing this, because my one worry is Vertex, where's the pastures? He's fine. He's like, bro, I got it covered. Not only has he got the deer stack, which he just moved on to, but to the west side of that, he's got the boar. And as it stands, Hatsimale, even if he somehow gets out of his base, he's playing a slow comp with longbows and men-at-arms. You are not checking the flanks. You're just heading straight down the center, full divide.
Yeah, and it's been really important for Vertex that he has been macroing well behind this, because this has not been a killing blow. It's a lot of damage. Mental damage, emotional damage, and villager damage has been dealt, but he's not quite out yet, Hatsimale, so he could keep trying to hold on here. He's got the King's Palace producing vills, so he might be thinking he can catch up, and Vertex behind this is just macroing up for, I think, a really strong late castle timing. So we could be seeing that, or he might just kind of fall to the raids here.
So with how long it's actually, because it's level 2 ranged resistance, like the amount of time it's taking him to actually kill just one knight, I think it maps out to kind of worth it for Vertex, right? Like, that's at least 25 villagers idling each time for one knight that costs 240 resources. It doesn't take long to really make a return on what you spent.
Yeah, especially when you're this far ahead, idling for an even trade or even a bad trade can be worth it, right? Because you're just gonna keep securing the lead further and further while they deal with individual knights that you can easily afford. And yeah, Vertex looking to push in. These palisade walls did go up finally for Hatsimale. They were a bit ambitious, I thought, but he got them up in all the chaos. And now Vertex just gonna have to sit there and push through without it. Could see the Kurultai come in here. I mean, I kind of feel like the Kurultai in the face would help a lot.
Maybe if he was going for like a big Falcon Punch, right? But right now, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, right? I think like death by 1,000 cuts, which a lot of players love to play in AoE4, is where Kurultai looks weak. If you station yourself with a mass an army of 40-50, I agree that the Kurultai should be here. But otherwise, you're going to have to abandon it and maybe it just dies in the retreat. So he'll just hold that until a little bit later. But you know, the worrying detail I see for Hatsimale, you're seeing how little damage the longbows are doing, which is his main defense force. He never upgraded them. So they aren't even sufficiently dispatching even one men-at-arms.
And Vertex already has the second Pierce Armor upgrade, so I think they might
That's it.
They might actually be doing 2 damage. I think right now,
I
which
think
is
that's a
very low.
stretch. It's probably 1 damage at that stage. What, 5 armor? Like, I think you go up to like 6 or 7, and then you can only get the longbows up to 7. But Hatsi realizes like it's just tickling at this point, and he's not looking to make his opponent laugh. He's looking to make him scream. But instead, so far in this series, it's actually going to be Hatsi the one doing the screaming, as Vertex is now on match point.
Yeah, I mean, that was really clean, and this was kind of my fear when I saw the matchup. The way Mongols are playing in the meta right now is so good versus passive play. That threat, that threat of the trade is just so intense that I mean, you saw Hatsimale try. He was like, I need to make army to shut down the trade. And even though it's like not super efficient, it's still just way more villagers than you have, right? So you kind of have to deal with it. And Hatsimale tried. He never really got that forward outpost for network of castles. He never really got like a really solid position where his reinforcements weren't always threatened. Like he never had a significant enough threat on the actual economy of Vertex where Vertex ever had to really care. He just kind of let Hatsimale take that middle space. And from there, he just dinked and dunked and eventually came out ahead with a huge army lead.
Like
And it really paid off.
if I had to compliment one element of that game that I think was super smart and super clutch, it's actually that one outpost in the gold vein from Vertex. Like, not only did that give him a safe point to keep gathering gold, which allowed him to boom more traders, not only did that give him the yam to flank with the horsemen, but it also ensured that that slow army, the English, if they ever want to get to the backside, to the juicy underbelly of the economy, took them
All
double
the
the
way.
distance. Yeah, you're doing a very
Yeah.
long sea.
Yeah, at which point Vertex would have noticed the lack of it because you could tell he was very active with that horseman group, right? He was always kind of tracking. He had a scout in there, the con, right? The con was in there, always tracking the positions there. So it was just very aware. Really solid game there from Vertex. Honestly, kind of wondering what Hatsimale could have done once that feudal position was kind of solidified. Like traders are going, you're there, like without the macro to support it on English, I struggle to see how you'd ever win, right? Without playing into like your stronger Castle Age
I think
or strong Castle Age as English.
one potential option for Hatsimale, I don't think he ever really truly explored the left side, right? Like that may have been his way in to cut the trade off at one end. But even
Yeah,
then, like you feel uncomfortable. Like whenever you're an English player, your number one goal is to stay on the 50% side of the town center that is towards your base, so you can quickly get reinforcements
right.
there, right? The moment you step out of that, like you're in uncharted territory. It feels like you're too slow to get out of danger. And even if you see someone like prepping a counter, think about how many times you've been there, right? Like you're in this game, so Hatsimale will be the north side of the TC, and you see that he's now building the counter unit. Think about how long. I just like they just track it in your brain, and it hurts. Imagining Lombos running that long to get back towards safety, and how many times you could easily be caught off on the way.
Yeah, going all the way around the base is really, really tough, especially with the slow comp. Eventually, you'll just get overwhelmed because what Vertex showed was the like kind of the perfect response, which is let them occupy the space that they want to occupy, mitigate damage, and cut off reinforcements. Eventually, you're going to have a larger army defending. Defender's advantage has larger armies over time, and you just attack it and you wipe it. And ultimately, didn't fall for that trap. It just happened to happen in the middle of the map as well, which is really tricky. I think it showed. I think that you were talking about it in the middle of the game. That micro text
Yeah,
was really clean. Like those spearmen got very, very little value that in that fight. And I think that kind of like that I feel like that solidified the position. Because before that, like it was a pretty intimidating army for a time. Like if he had added some rams, gotten an outpost or two in the front, like started buffing them up, he could have threatened the TC potentially. At least in the Uvu, the production buildings. Not necessarily wrap around the back, but just kind of punch you in the face, right?
hmm
But Vertex just did not allow that to happen, and that was cool.
yeah.
What are you expecting for game three?
So game three, I mean, like honestly, I think there's kind
Rocky.
of a message being sent here by Vertex, and it's kind of fitting for an Age of Empires one player, right?
Mhm.
Aggression, right? Like it is a game that I feel like anytime I watch AoE one, like compare it to AoE two, definitely to AoE four, people tend to be kind of more all in. They're always trying to pressure. They're always trying to pressure to what is advantage. I think Vertex is comfortable there. So when you go into a map like Rocky Canyon, it's kind of Dry Arabia type esque map again. You've got to be thinking aggro civs, so French, Delhi, Ottoman. I think they could all be viable here. Maybe Malians. Like I actually think Rocky Canyons is okay for Malians, right? You just basically go for your Farimba Garrison standardized build, and then usually the gold veins are desirable enough and clustered towards the center, so you do get max pit mines.
Interesting. Yeah, Malians could be cool here, but there's no trade post on Rocky Canyon, right?
I don't think you do it for the trade though, right? Like the
But we
idea of
saw
trade's
that in
always
one of the
fun,
games.
but it's
I think
like,
late game though,
yeah, but if you're in the late
you
game,
always
like you've already arrived where you don't want to be with the Malians, right?
yeah, but they're completely like, I feel like they're quite unplayable without any access to trade. They're so gold
Okay.
dependent on some elements, right? But anyway, not
Yeah.
not really relevant. We did see that happen in one of the games yesterday. There was a Malian player. I think it was on Rocky.
It
Could have been
was, yeah.
Basin.
I think it was
It was on
Kiwian.
Rocky.
Yeah, it was Kiwian versus Striker. It was on Dry Rivers because you had the little
Dry
ponds.
Rivers.
Um,
Is that another map without trade posts? I actually don't know if all
that
these maps. I feel
I
like they're
think
just so
Dry
similar.
Rivers didn't have trade posts. But
There's
like
almost like the Sacred Site play, right? Remember that
yeah,
one?
yeah,
The
that
timing
was the
was right.
game.
Yeah.
But like my thought process is like, yes, trade is great. It gives you a high ceiling. But like even if you just go for a like hyper fast aggro timing, I don't think like the current Farimba build is good, right? It's getting nerfed as is required because it was kind of absurd. But like if you ever reach that
Yeah.
30-40 mass, you kind of win in most situations.
Mm.
But scrap that, draw it out your mind. Instead, we're going a different way. I said Vertex, I expected something aggro. The Chinese can definitely play that way, but wouldn't have been my number one expectation. Speaking of
Yeah.
aggro civs, Hatsimale on the other side goes for the French.
So I'm kind of hoping for Hatsimale that he can fall into some comfort here. He can fall into something that he's just good at doing, right? We saw like the English, like he was clearly out of not like out of place, but like it's good for him that he's picking another safe pick in terms of like the macro because we kind of saw the macro fall apart last game, and you can't have that repeat, right? You have to expect, okay, this is an opponent who wants to be aggressive. This is an opponent who wants to like not let me do my thing. I need to make sure that I can still at least accomplish the basic goals of my civ, like English building farms around mills, right? We kind of saw even that falling apart. So it's like, okay, with French, can we get knights? Can we mine our gold? Can we defend? Can we add archers to support? Can we add the TC eventually? Like, can we do these basic elements? And I think you're going to be in a good spot. But if Vertex is in your head, man, if he's in your head, because what did we see from both games so far? And how do you deal with this from Hatsimale? Both games
Oh,
didn't even scout, didn't do anything, instant military building, right? Before he even knew, he just had the barracks in game one. Before he even knew, he had the stable. Didn't even have to see what Hatsimale was doing.
yeah.
So do we see an instant barracks again on China? Like not optimal, right? But it could. It's been working.
Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say. It
honestly,
sounds so bad though.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at this point because there's one way I could describe Vertex, one word I could choose. I think is appropriate is the word vamos, right? This guy goes and he just doesn't
Vamos.
stop. So it's got to be on Hatsimale's mind. Now, one thing
Yeah.
to keep in mind is even if you get to be the tempo aggressor, I rate this as one of the worst matchups, right? Like bottom four probably for French because the Chinese are such effective turtlers, right? Like if you're French, what is the number one thing you don't want to have to deal with? It's someone that has many garrison points or strong garrison points. It's why the English is always annoying if they turtle successfully because you can't dive TC. You can play pocket ecos though. But what's more annoying is the Chinese kind of boom faster than the English. But they still have those hand cannon slits on the Barbican and the primary TC that punish you anytime you come near French knights.
Yeah, and the villagers as well, just buying time for the spearmen to arrive to defend the vills, right?
Yeah.
There's so many options for China to play defensively. Also, like if they're ever caught out in the unit counter triangle early game, it's just like, oh, supervise that building, and now I have 10 horsemen, right? It's like okay, fix that problem, right? So you can quickly adapt to what your opponent's doing with China, which is one of the strengths of it in the defensive play for sure. But I'm not exactly sure how this is going to play. I'd be surprised if Vertex plays just all in aggro this one just for the sake of like maybe mixing and matching it, maybe just playing to the Civ strengths here. Um, Definitely has strong macro ability. We saw that last game even well pressuring.
Yep.
So could definitely see just some song boom, comfortable, like just deny the aggression early game and outscaling castle, which is often the story of China versus French, I feel like right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well,
I
you
don't
you
actually know if it's a
just
good matchup on the ladder. I'd have to check. But I can imagine that there's a lot of games that go that way.
yeah, it's kind of like the annoying thing is like the Chinese have more options, right? Like if you play prolonged feudal, and let's say the French player adds in archers, you can add in Chiganu, shreds them. If you're thinking about trying to mass knights and the Chinese player just defends with spears, those racks get a value when you go up into Castle Age because they just get two-legged cavalry units, right? The Palace Guard are actually surprisingly fast, even before you think about Yuan Dynasty down the line. It just becomes really annoying. It feels like it's the type of matchup that usually when French players win, it's because they outplay, right? Like on kind of a reasonable balance point where both players are equally skilled, which is a hard thing to like measure. But imagine in a perfect world we can say that. I always think the Chinese have an edge because they have economy options, they have military options, like you said, with the quick transitions, and the pressure is always on the French player to do something.
Yeah, it's actually really funny. I was just checking the win rates of the solo matchups
Yeah.
for on AOE4 World, just checking what those were, and it's like at every
Just
at
look at that. Yeah,
every
yep.
skill bracket, it's just completely different. It's completely flipped. Right at Platinum Plus, you have French with a 53% win rate, and then by the time you're in Diamond Plus, it's a much lower. It's 48% win rate for French. So definitely flips and flops. It seems that there's no like solid way to play this. It's not well defined, this matchup, I guess, but
Hmm.
in terms of like who wins versus not. I mean, I guess a lot of the
But if
strategies are,
we
but
if we
execution,
look at the highest
yeah,
level, I'm looking like it was at
yeah, it conquers.
54.7% for Chinese. So they
Yeah,
they 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 crotch stomped the French a little.
yeah, yeah. At this level, it just seems, yeah, it seems like it's gonna be tough. It seems like it's gonna be tough for French, at least on paper. But 15 seconds away. KP, what's your prediction?
Oh, let's be honest here. It's probably a 3-0. Ah, yeah, maybe we get a fourth game. Like maybe Hatsimale shines through, but I think Vertex so far has been the aggressor. He has always found a way, even in situations where you might expect him to be the more defensive. He's found a way to manipulate Hatsimale's expectations. So, if Hatsi wants to stand a chance of flipping it around, and remember he's actually up against match points, so he has to win every single game. He needs to
Yeah.
make sure he is predicting the moves ahead because so far Vertex has been reading him like he's a 2-year-old's crown book.
Hmm. When I think about that, though, your analogy there, just to breathe on this for a moment,
Mhm.
I can't really decipher like 2-year-old drawings. Like it's just kind of like sloppy and all over. How do you like know
The
like they say, hey,
chaos
look,
theory.
it's like it's you and me, and it's just like a stick figure next to like a broken house, no door. How do you get in? I don't know. Anyway,
As someone who's got a
moving on.
child who's almost 1 years old, when she starts drawing, I can give you the clear answer. I'll never say it to her face because I'm a loving parent, but it's all bollocks. No, who cares what it says, right? Like, I can still draw better than that. Anyway, moving in. That's maybe Vertex's thought process. He thinks he can do better. But right now, he is 2 games behind. Gotcha! That's a lie. It's actually Vertex who's
Yeah,
already on
that's
match
flipped.
point. Hatsimale needs to reach deep into his magical hat and start winning fast.
Wait, how do you say it? I've been calling it hot tamale, like hot
Hatsimale?
tamale.
I don't know. I was
I
going for
don't know.
Hatsimale.
I'm
Hatsimale,
probably saying
Hatsimale.
it wrong.
Call him
Um,
Hatsi. I think Hatsi is a cool name,
Hatsi.
Yeah.
That's a really cool name.
It is, right?
Um,
Good old Hatsi.
yeah, Hatsi. But then that leaves male at the end, like Hatsi male.
Actually, like that, I gotta give it to Shizuri in the chat. He just said hot Sumail. Now that's all else. He went Sumali, but like I'm thinking because you was talking dirt
Hatsi
earlier.
male. Oh, the
Yeah, hot
Dota.
Sumail.
Oh my
He
gosh,
can't
with the
unsee it
hair.
now.
Yeah, the hair. Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
All right, so but we got a game on our hands. We got Vertex versus Hatzimal, Hatsmail, Hot, whatever you want to call it, Hatsi. French versus
TTV. We've
China.
got TTV. Who would win? An Age of Empires 1 pro player or Twitch?
At what? Drawing or AoE4?
Yes, only paint, and you must draw controlling the mouse with your feet.
Well, Twitch chat is always like 2.2k ULO, right? On average, so
Whoa.
I think you got to give it to them.
Sometimes I always have to remember we're talking ELO and AoE. Like, when I don't have a rank number on the leaderboards, I forget how high that is. I've been nullified by games that have 10k ELO.
What? Well, this is interesting village placement here from Vertex. I guess he did the build where you chop and then drop it off with the supervision, so you get the wood,
Hmm.
just enough wood. But not having the village on the gold might feel bad in a bit. He might have to tower that. Whereas if you can build the village on the gold mine, it gives you that safe spot. So as long as you have spears for the knights, you can kind of like quickly duck them in. We'll see if this comes to bite him in the back here. Could just be a Barbican going up there. Later
So,
on if he's going for a song rush.
so it's actually kind of funny because we got into the game before I could make a nice little debatable topic point for Twitch chat. I think one good way to spot good Chinese players is how they place their villages.
Okay.
Discuss, chat. Because think about, like, it's a garrison point, it's a safe point, right? If you want to do anything that is greedy as the Chinese, the the game breaker, the difference, in my opinion, between like good Chinese play and bad Chinese play is whether you use your villagers to exploit resources, right? So imagine, for example, he knows he needs wood, have that village on the wood line. Or if you need gold, have the village on the gold line. Or like you said, leave room for the Barbican. But usually when I see someone just drop a village straight away, I'm not saying that it just makes Vertex a bad player, but I feel like the people that play a lot of Chinese realize how valuable 1 or 2 tiles difference with village placement is.
Yeah. But it is interesting here for Vertex, like the village placement, like you're saying, and he's going for one vill on the Imperial Academy, so that means
Oh, we've seen
nothing
this
like
before.
super crazy. Looks like the Barbican, yeah. And then there's the one vill on. So, are you traumatized by that one too? So we'll see.
I mean, I know some Chinese spammers were shocked by that one. The one we began the day with on Canal, right? It was the one building the Imperial Academy into a fast castle build. Don't think we're going to see the same. But then again, he's still gathering gold. There we go. It's just going to be the Barbican. And, oh, well, he's feeling a bit aggressive about his placement.
Just wants it to cover the berries, I guess, as a fallback option. Make sure it covers the wood line fully. You can just chop trees there pretty comfortably. Although it's gonna not really cover the wood line. It's the lumber camps to be buffed by the Imperial Academy. But Song Dynasty is mere seconds away, and with that, the macro will start to favor Vertex. Just so slightly. But okay, if you're Hatsi, as we've agreed upon calling him, if you're Hatsi here, how do you feel now? Because for the first time, your first 5 minutes have been unperturbed. You've played the game your way.
I don't even know the game anymore. That's how
Vertex
he feels.
hasn't showed up with 13 units in your base right now. Like, what do I do? Like, you got to just make sure your macro is clean here, right? And it looks like that's what he's doing, just making sure his knights are coming out. He might be building up to that pretty classic, like 3 or 4 at this point. Players tend to stop there and start thinking about TCs, depending on the opponent's strat. Yeah. So we'll see what he does. He's got 2 out. See if he adds a 3rd.
So
Winston,
Winston,
still gonna try and find value. Yeah.
To your whole point though, like if you're Hatsi there, like if we check his vision, he probably was checking every angle to make sure there's not a Barbican coming, right? Like he's checking himself for bullets.
Yeah, just making sure. I mean, there could have been some. I don't know how to play this map just yet, Rocky Canyon. But like, are there fish in these little ponds? No, right?
Not in this one.
No.
Dry River
So
has the 5 or 6 fish spots
Yeah.
and this is just like haha she baited. It's pretty cool in terms of design actually if you think about it, because what it prevents people doing is just walling the whole way across the map. At least right down the center. Right?
It really depends. Like a lot of those, like it really depends on the depth. And, ooh, could be losing a Vill here. A bit sloppy for Vertex. Pulls back. Delay on the Knight. Oh, right, the IO is gonna go down too.
That's heavy damage on the Knights though, and he's gonna lose both of them.
Oh, that's probably worth actually. I think you take that trade.
But remember, like Vertex does have the ability to build Imperial officials elsewhere, right? So like,
but just for cost, like it's not like that was 2 Vills. That was a Vill and an IO. Actually, no, I don't think that was worth it.
That's what I'm saying. Right? It's 480 resources on one side and what 200 on the other.
Oh boy. And that's also Song Dynasty, so like killing a Vill is like the expectation at this point. But we're gonna see that second TC from Hatsi. Oh, now I just sound like I'm hitting on him. Hatsi, where's he gonna put it? On the hunt, on the north, double deer, not bad.
He's got board to the east side, right? Deer to the west. Like, as long as this doesn't get spotted out, and in fairness, it's the correct play. Like Vertex hasn't shown any intent to aggress. Instead, he's opening with spears instead of say horsemen. So the intent here is kind of becoming clear from Vertex, right? Before Castle Age cracks, he should not be leaving his territory ever.
Yeah. But losing those 2 knights, like if those knights had stayed alive and you could just buff them up with chivalry again, I think the position here for Hatsi would be winning. But without it, it's hard to say. And Vertex isn't going to be too far behind on the second TC, just 2 minutes later, and they build it faster, so a lot less idle time there on the eco. And whoa, Hatsi finding for a 3rd TC.
But Vertex knows. And so think about it, if you're a Chinese playing the situation, you don't necessarily count this, right? Well. You just be more greedy.
3. Yeah. You just match the opponent's TC as China once your Song, and you're winning, right? Or not. It's not like that obvious, but you know what I mean, right? You're setting yourself up.
You're more efficient at racing that. Like and the other issue I see is now, like, imagine if Hatsi hadn't thrown those 2 knights away, which like it's 100% just not worth, right? It's 480 resources to start with. You're not even getting an even exchange. Now, because you only have 1 knight, and because you're going trip TC, there's a heavy burden of food. You're probably not building more knights. it means that Vertex should probably just sneak out onto the deer stack, and you won't already have knights to counter that play.
Yeah, and Song Dynasty's just so strong. Even with that dive, Vertex is still up 4 kills. And I guess the IO that he trained, like he's still up. Oh,
Well,
cheeky spearman.
what was it you were saying earlier? 5 minutes he got, those spearmen are in his base, but they're coming. They are actually going to sting.
Losing a Vil here would be terrible, but he was able to keep it alive.
Oh no,
Backs
oh
up
no,
and
no, no, let me out, let me out, let me out.
Crap. Oh my god. Wait, that's so funny. Don't do it again. Sorry, I'm getting excited.
Even if he gets it up, right, it's slow down his timing again. So this has given time for Vertex to potentially go back on the stone or target something else. It looks like he actually hasn't continued to gather stones, so probably just going to stick 2 TCs, but that's fine with Song Dynasty.
Hatsi doesn't have a TC protecting gold at all. This
Oh,
feudal age could become a huge issue super fast. He's gonna need towers there ASAP, or he's gonna never make another knight.
Oh no.
Right?
He's maybe going to get 1. He's got enough to get 1, as long as he doesn't choose to go for any sort of tech upgrade instead.
But you're missing techs now. You're gonna be missing
But
he's
it's so
gonna
much
have to make
worse.
archers.
Winston, Vodka's going to do it for us. Check where all the gold veins are.
Right there, yeah. He's got the one on the north, I guess. Sneaky.
Well, okay, so here's a thought process. Why did that TC get dropped south side instead of north side of the wood line?
That's what I was questioning. He's got the gold on the north, though. I think that'll help him out a lot. It's just as long as he can get there and use it. Double range going to be coming down. This is all pretty normal, I guess. I don't normally see 3 TC, I guess, from French, but I don't know everything. I'm sure there's a bunch of players doing this.
You clearly have never watched a Divine DFP game.
Oh, I guess, yeah, he does that.
It's been a while since I've watched his games, but every time I used to tune into that guy, it was 3 or 4 TCs. He loved that build.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit unorthodox, especially like if you start to come under pressure. Like I mentioned that he dropped that TC on the deer stack, and that's good. But the boar and the deer to the sides aren't protected, so he needs to get a sustainable force. And this is what I was waiting to see Vertex do. This is a brilliant play. This long wall gets him double deer stack plus berries in the back corner. He will get to Castle Age and cruise through reverse spam a Palace Guard that is hard to stop.
And all there, and even past the knights, because the wall was up. One of the knights is going to get trapped. It's going to get run down. That knight is not going to make it out alive, I think, situation. I mean, maybe there's some cool micro to be done. Oh, stabbed. I always love watching a single spearman stab a horseman that's running by, or like a knight, because they get so emphatic. Yeah, they're like I'm alone, but I will stab you, and they run up really fast.
I mean, with a spear that long, you could essentially full shish kebab the horse and put it over a campfire, to be honest. So I'd be that confident as well.
Yeah, that's cold. Anyway, the wall is going to be done in just a second here. The knight's going to be looping back around to the TCs. The one on the south, I mean.
I think
the
he's
wall
been
goes
pinched.
up.
Yep, he's been pinched. Run, Romeo, run! I don't know
Wherefore
where,
art
but
thou?
just run.
Why is its name Romeo? What's the story there?
I change their names all the time. He seems like a lover, not a fighter. Mainly because he hasn't actually attacked a single thing.
But he's been hit. He's taking one for the team.
Yeah,
but
he's
gonna get out. I think. Or wait,
lover, not a fighter, right? Like lovers can get hit.
Oh, he gets out.
Okay, no, we're gonna have to address this, Winston. Just because you like someone's starts a bar fight, you go, "I art thou not fighter, for I love." You're getting punched in the face. You're not getting away from that unharmed.
Well, he just did. Well, he got away harmed, but he got away. So chivalry will help in this. Spearman get taken down by the archers. That double range transition is good, and honestly, I really like Hatsi's position. He's going to have Castle Age right behind this. 3 TC against 2 TC of Song.
He will be slowing the tech up, though. Remember, like, Chinese build speed. And Vertex has almost got the required amount of gold. In fact, they should start their tech ups at about the same time here.
Yeah, but 3 French TCs is still a lot better than 2 Song TCs.
That's true,
so
but he hasn't protected the economy fully, right, is my concern. Like, he's trying to wall now, but it is still quite open on his side compared to the Chinese.
And that's just mathematically. There seem to have been some macro issues here because the Vil count is even. I guess there was that period where Vertex just had a big lead, so we should see that lead really kick up in Castle Age. But I don't know. I mean, if a 3rd TC comes down, Vertex will be fine. And honestly, when you have this many Vils, you're closing in on that critical mass of villagers anyway. So we're gonna quickly macro into a mid to late game.
Hatsi, that wall is ambitious. It's almost like you watch Vertex, who's like, anything the Chinese can do, I can do. No, not building. You can't do the type of building the Chinese do. Also, I'm pretty
Man,
sure Vertex used like 6 villagers compared to the 2 that got pulled by red.
yeah. Interesting guild hall. Gonna see what that's going towards. Probably, like you're saying, probably the stone.
I think it's because like he doesn't want to mass knights because he's seen Spears show. But like in fairness, Royal Institute is still good for the Arbitraire techs, right? Getting the big discounts there, especially if you're worried
and that
about
could be-
Palace Guard.
Not right now. Vertex seems content to just spam spearmen. Vet spearmen are no joke, man. They can stab a lot of units. Even mass archers, like they're gonna clean them up easily. But anything but mass archers, I mean, sorry, is gonna run into some trouble, right? Unless you start getting that. This is fun to watch.
I mean, are we watching the French or the English? Because it looks like everyone's just queuing right now.
All right.
Off to the berries
Just
we go.
throwing shade out to cultures. I like it.
To my own culture.
to
to be like, I think if anyone's allowed to in this void, it is me.
Yeah. So we got the boar. Nothing with the boars yet. I mean, the boar's just right there for Hatsi to take, and the Vilk count still in favor of French, which is very slightly.
Yeah,
Just
but
nothing to do
remember,
with
like
Harlequin.
you have to think like, well, we're looking at gathering techs. You know, he's actually behind, and then on top of that, the Chinese do have the imperial officials. So like, it's so deceptive in that regard. I still give a clear edge to the Chinese, especially when I look at that food income. Good lord.
Dude, I think Vertex is looking for a cheeky imp play. I don't know what into.
might.
Maybe he's got a bit of stone, so he could put the Great Wall
wait,
Gatehouse
wait, is he
somewhere.
just
Dang.
elite spearmaning and rushing the base? I actually think he's elite spearman rushing.
The archers are really going to struggle soon, I think. Well, maybe not.
Well, that's unfortunate.
There's only 10 of them.
Imagine you spend this much time building this wall, right? Your life's work, Winston. 25 years! And then it's pointless.
Oh my gosh. Well, it wasn't that pointless. At least you died for it, right?
What?
I don't know.
no, you're going to have to explain that one to me, Winston.
Sorry. Sometimes I'm very grim, sad. Never mind. Moving on.
It's worth it because you died? Man, you must really hate French.
Oh my gosh, please let me move on from that one. Oh my gosh. So yeah, the archers are going to be fine here. They're just going to kill all these. Kind of a weird investment, but that imp click is not happening. So I don't know what Vertex's plan was here. Just running down the knights, buying some space on the map.
Zerg. The plan is Zerg. You said he was an A1 player. I think he played StarCraft his spare time because all I'm seeing is Mass Spear and Palace Guard on the way.
He's going to have 30 spears soon.
Yeah,
Or 40 spears soon.
Before you
Oh,
know
Palace
it,
Guard's
no.
coming up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like before you know it, it's going to be 30 Palace Guard. Like he's just seen what Hatsimale's done. It's like, oh, so you're tier 3. You're in Castle Age of the French, and you're building archer. Okay, we're going Palace Guard.
Not all these bills to that little berry patch. Please save me. Oh my gosh, that's so brutal. There's a boar right there. Okay, moving
this is
on.
hurting me, dude. It's like
It's not hurting. It's not hurting.
It's
good.
like
It's good.
the
He
living
needs food.
meal to meal right now. This is like AE4 metaphors. This is living meal to meal.
That's pretty brutal. I think it's okay though. Like just grabbing the food is important. But
He
you're already
still
dealing
hasn't
with
eaten the
Vertex.
boar.
Yeah, I know, but we're moving on from that. What we're focusing on right now is that Vertex is getting his farm transition going behind this, and honestly, like he's starting to run down these archers.
How does
He's
he
got
have,
a couple palace guards.
How is he countered? Like, how is he countering this unit and yet he still has military mass, almost doubling up Hatsi?
He's just running him down. I mean, he's had 2,000 food, and now that food is gone. So, honestly, I think this was a really good trade for Hatsi, given all things considered. But now the palace guards are mixed in, and well, fight's close. Too close.
In fairness, Arbitrary are on the way before the Palace Guard have fully arrived in the party. The problem is there's not
Yeah.
many Arbitrary. There are many Palace Guard.
So what's the guild hall doing? Do you mind us checking, Vodka? I just want to really make sure we know what's going on there.
I swear to God if it's on food. I mean,
Oh, look at that farm. The granary boom is starting to kick in. Song Dynasty obviously going to be really strong here. If he gets 3 granaries up, China's starting to look towards their macro late game, which is really tough for French to deal with early castle. Because I mean, look at the Vil counts, right? We're at 110 versus 120. Once you start getting to that 130 Vil count, like China just starts purring, right? You
Uh-huh.
you get the thing. Oh boy, you
Please,
get all
someone,
the
please.
granaries working. It's gonna start looking rough. To
It's
the board.
okay.
Oh, to the
It's
other
okay.
berries.
He's going for more berries, Winston.
Rams. Interesting play here. Rams and Spearman and Palace guards. He's almost got fully upgraded blacksmith techs, just missing one more after the armor tech. He's got just missing melee attack 2 in Castle Age.
Do you ever watch all these people run around a ram and like it almost feels like one of those scenes, like you know, Pirates of the Caribbean when they get like tied on the poles and people say they're going to eat them and they're dancing around them. Kind of feels like that, right? Like there's some kind of worship of a sacrifice going on in the center there.
Yeah, the Ram Temple. You
Huh.
haven't been?
Yeah, like maybe we just can't see that they've actually drawn out like was it as a pentagram on the floor to summon it. That's just magically
Demonic
appear.
summoning?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair, fair. I think that is what's happening. Oh my, could you imagine if Vertex just walked to the right with his army casually
Oh my
and
god.
just ran into 30 vills on berries? That could be so devastating. And ooh, Hatsimale gonna need that guild hall soon because his
Whoa.
food income has dropped so much.
So if I'm Vertex, like screw Imperial Age, just get you on Dynasty, right? Like
Yeah, that's gonna be huge.
he can easily afford it now. Like he's almost at pop cap 190 right now. He's hoosed, as the Canadians would
Once
say.
he's okay, once he's housed though, once he's popped, yeah, I think Yuan is the natural follow-up, just to make your units all that much faster. It's really, really nice economically and militarily, but I don't think he really needs to worry about much. I don't see a way to stop this push, because I think behind it, the economy is just way too strong for Vertex. Just all the little details for the setup worked for him, and look at the archer range just get obliterated by the army here. Just so many melee units, and the bees! Sorry.
I appreciate it
I love
actually.
bees. The bees! Well, it's always such a surprise. Sometimes I forget to look, and it's immediately gonna die. Sad bee noises.
I think that's the noise they make when they die. We spray them anyway. And the other worry is like, look, there's a houses right there. Okay, there's about to be a housing crisis in the Castle Age for the French because if he doesn't rush up new ones, he's going to be pop-capped.
Yeah, but these are fully upgraded Castle Age men-at-arms. I actually think that I like Hatsimale's army. Hatsi's army.
If only there
I
were
think
more.
he's gonna clean this fight.
I mean, I'm still
Maybe?
not sure long-term how this. Because surely, like Vertex, he can just ignore this fight if he really wants. He can either go for the crossbows on the backside or chase the eco behind this. Instead,
Yeah,
he
it's
says
kind of
murder.
interesting. Yeah, just taking the fight straight up melee to melee, letting the range units have their. I guess the difference would have been, you know, he expected to have to be there, so he's committed now to the plan.
At what stage
coming
would it
in.
have been a good idea to just attack the range units?
That's too many questions. I honestly think for Vertex this is fine. I think
Yeah.
he can afford this trade because his macro's set up. Like, I think he literally does not care that these units are dying. As long as they're hitting something while they go down, it's probably a good enough trade for him. The keep with one Vil, gonna be bold, but gonna happen. And actually missing 2 granaries there, kind of a big miss. If he had 2 more granaries there, he has plenty
Oh,
of
good
wood.
lord.
The income would be so much stronger.
Wait, no, the
Oh,
nest of
boy.
bees!
There's the bee!
Run! Run! Fly, you fools! No, don't fly
Fry.
towards it, fly away.
I thought you said fry, you fools. And
Does
like,
that
yeah,
mean they are
that's
going to
not
fry
bad.
at this rate? Springle's going to come in,
Oh,
though. Wait. Bees?
But- Bees? No. Keep goes up. Worth.
Okay. You sure about... Ooh!
Okay.
So sorry, just,
Travis?
what was that last word? It began with a W that came out of your mouth.
I said worth.
Worthless? I must have cut you off before you got
Yeah,
the rest of that.
yeah. No, it might cut out. I said worthless.
Oh, there
It
you
cut
go.
out both times. It was kind of crazy.
Weird how that happens.
That fight I thought was gonna go better long term. That was a bad fight.
So did Vertex.
I think he thought he was going for a killing blow. That's a lot of those buildings.
As he builds a castle on its ruins.
Yo, dude, those guys have been gathering berries for so long. They were ready to do something else. And they
oh
built
my
that in a
god,
jiff.
new experiences. And now the farm's instantly behind. Dude, Hatsy's in full control
I
now.
mean, if he makes this farm transition quickly enough, he'll be okay.
He's got farms behind
Vertex needs
this.
to find an answer. Vertex needs siege. He needs army. He needs a more diverse comp. Like, you can't just go be infantry against Springald Arbalist, right? Like, it just won't work.
Well, the crazy
And
part
he's-
is if he just waited for the bees or defended them against the 6 knights that ran around the side like the Riders of Rohan, he actually looks good in this game.
This is a pretty big throw so far. We'll see. I mean, the macro is still okay for Vertex. He's going to pop back up to 200 pop soon, as long as he can avoid taking a direct fight for the next, like, 30, 40 seconds.
Or 50 seconds,
yeah,
maybe
this is
60 seconds, possibly 70 seconds, probably 80 seconds,
Uh-oh.
90 seconds.
The bee?
To be or
boss?
not to be? Not to be, because
he
this
didn't
wall
make the
doesn't
army.
belong to you! Those are
What are those
villagers right
rules
now. That's the villager lead
Why?
that he's built up. I don't have an answer to why, Winston. Just marvel at it. I don't think he even knows why anymore.
I mean, it kind of worked. He won the fight.
Yep, he baited the spears away, so now the rest of the army is just going to make their way in.
The villager lead is gone, but losing access to one of the granaries, a lot of the dynasty bonus there going. Fighting under the keep, though. These Chinese keeps don't mess around.
That's true, but double treb is sieging into it pretty heavy. So yeah, if he actually drops the Pavis, I'm fine with this. Like, one button. One button that every French player
doesn't
forgets.
do much against the cannon, though, or the bee.
The bee is the problem. But there is double sprinkled here that are shooting farms instead. Oh god, there's so many.
Very aggressive keep. Insufficient stone pops up on our screen because it's a lot of ills repairing and not a lot of ills. 2 on stone. He's gonna have to buy from the market. I don't even know if he has a market.
You know, I respect the muxy of what Hatsi's doing here. Building a proxy base right next to where you just lost the battle is bold.
I think this is gonna become problematic pretty soon because I don't know, because of everything.
You realize the chaos here. You can't try to rationalize anymore. This has been
No, you can't.
an
No, there's a
interesting.
lot here. There's a lot here. Vertex has the horseman switch coming. It's a bit slow. He's only on, I think those are feudal horsemen. Actually, no, this might be veteran. With China, it's kind of hard to tell. But
If you look at the top, you can see on their pips they've got like dots.
yeah, they're vet. Yeah. So there they are.
Another
Gonna be able to
castle.
hold, not deny the keep though.
Nesta Bees
Can't
are
deny the keep.
attacking trebuchets instead of the front line. The front line that is now
Surprisingly
lost.
effective though. If he kills the trebs, the push is kind of dead for a bit. The threat's gone and Vertex could back up and just sit behind the keep, which he was able to keep alive by some miracle with the stone.
Okay.
He built a market next to it.
Well, that is going to be a breakout right there. The defense is gone. You've got no front line as the French player. Vertex is actually gaining some ground. The trebuchets aren't taking out anything of value anymore.
Farms have gone down. The Springles will take their shots, but have to back up because the Palace Guard mass is ever so encroaching on the Arbalist line.
Knock, knock.
But just enough man-at-arms keep sneaking through the front line there for Hatsi, and he's able to hold. With the support of the keep, he's got 2 mangonels now as well, so gonna be dishing out his own DPS. The Springles move up and snipe one of the bees again. Looks really good for Hatsi for a moment here. He's able to hold.
He's in
A
again.
wall across the front line. This is interesting that neither player's trying to open up the map by doing anything else. The threat of these trebs is just so high.
Well, like, I'm trying to figure out where all this food keeps going. Like, Vertex has an extra 1,000 food to expend into these fights, and it never seems to show. He just consistently loses time and time again.
Been under so much pressure, forced to find a way to clear this army out. Because if this army solidifies, right, from Hatsi,
Yes.
he has no way to kill the siege except for going big into Springles himself. And that's when just the positional advantage of Hatsi will come into play. Whereas right now, if he's able to just outmass and out-trade, he could just take these out with horsemen. But you can only do that if you keep the armies low. This is really tricky. The bee fails in fire. The Springles move up again.
I mean, this is
They're stuck behind the range.
The problem is this is like Trip Mango is about to be. You're still up against Springles, and you only got Nesta Bees. Like, I think this is the stage where Hatsimale, if he just sticks the Arbitrator intentionally in front of the Mangonels, he still just wins out. But instead, the Horsemen are getting freebies.
No, the Trebs died though. And now if the Trebs are dead, Vertex can just kill. He doesn't need to dive this keep anymore. We might even see him back off after a few more cycles of this, because the threat's kind of gone. In fact, he has the threat with the Treb of his own slowly plunking away. Able to repair the keep. no more damage, no more threat. He could just back up and finally remass with his better economy. Although, better economy might be an overstatement at this point. The food income there for Hatsi's been really good. He's been taking better trades with stronger units.
Also, think about the stone situation. Like, who can keep doing this longer? Because Hatsi stationed himself in the center. It's kind of the name, Rocky Canyon. In the canyon in the center, that's where you find the fat stacks of stone. So he has access to them, and Vertex, because of the way he carved the line, has none. He has one stone outcropping at home, and that's literally it.
But you can just see how much losing those trebs hurt the push.
Yes.
Like,
But I
the
don't think it
dives- I
stops
was gonna
you
say
from
they stop.
continuing, right? Like, it slows the push, but it doesn't stop you getting in his Hatsi still.
Oh yeah. It's just like you giving that breather to Vertex here.
Yes.
Who can now? He doesn't need to force repair all the time. He can just mass units again, get back up to 200 pop, and take a better engagement.
No, you see that castle? You saw the little roof there. That's not a Chinese castle.
Yeah, that's a good one.
In fact, I think there's 2 castles down. No, oh, there's a second red marker. Please tell me he didn't double castle. Okay, it's just an outpost coming. So it's not. Okay, yeah, it's getting pretty grim.
Yeah, this is tough for Vertex for sure. Dealing with this encampment, but he's got access to gold in the middle. Still,
You say that with less enthusiasm every time.
yeah. I mean, 200 pop fights here are going to be tough now. Although the castles, I mean, losing out on the bonus long term, if you lose these, could make the late game pretty weak for Hatsimale. But he's always got the guild hall,
And he's such
college of artillery.
Yeah, he's on his way up. I mean, it's just so much gold access now that he makes his way up. Like, you could even think about going back into for knights. I don't think he needs it, though. I think Hatsimale is playing kind of an English style of gameplay, right? Slow, methodical push into the base.
I think
And
he
a
might
hit.
be about.
No,
Oh, I thought the
Vertex.
horseman was swooping.
The mangonels can do serious damage here. He's not reacting quick enough. Heavy hit to his front line there.
But response comes in from the bees, and a huge wave of horsemen comes across now. That's going to be enough to clean this up.
As long as the mangoes
He's
don't get
got
a good shot
more
off.
than enough.
There we go. He will get in. So that's going to be a pushback onto Hatsi. Now, keep in mind, Vertex needs to do more than this, though, because the tech up is about to complete, and you're not in a position to now punish your opponent in any meaningful way.
You need to get some trebs out, and that's going to be really tricky. But the mangonels will get cleaned up slowly but surely. The Arbalist mass has died, which was a lot of the threat against the Palace Guards, which could just keep running rampant on the siege. Horseman Palace Guard's a good option here to keep the siege at bay. Oh, the Spearmen get a good little stabby stab in.
Yeah,
They're very excited for that moment.
the
They
Spearmen
will
are
die.
kind of in that situation where like they went out for their break and they came back and the whole store's on fire. Like, what happened?
What happened, guys?
It's your job to deal with this. It's that you've seen Community, right? It's that scene where he walks in and everything's on fire and everyone's
Yeah, this
hurt.
is fine. Well, these keeps are still up and still denying the gold. This could be tricky for Vertex if he's ever looking to go imp. He still had that gold in his base, though, that he never mined.
There is one near the sacred site as well that is kind of in no man's land, right? No one really cares about
Pushed
it.
off that. I think there was a keep went up on that, and I think he got pushed off. Or something
Oh,
went up
keep
there, like a tower.
Maybe like an outpost. There is a red dot up there.
I saw a big group of red villagers.
Good lord, it is a castle.
Yeah, that's what I thought I saw happening, but it was only on the minimaps.
Wait.
Sure.
Hatsi's planning to trade. Well, he's set up for it quite well. Like, if you go back to that castle, he has a marketplace
Yeah.
there. Like, that's a really good spot to start a trade line.
The gold starts running out, and French are quite reliant on having gold access. Their trash comp, as some players say, isn't ideal long term. You really do need that gold access. With the discount, you can make that gold go really, really far. So being able to grab that is good. But the relics are in favor of Vertex. That's so strong. Being able to
Whoa.
defend there with that is good.
He let him out. More siege is
Yeah.
going down. I mean, Hatsi is relying a lot on static point defenses, but this is the cool thing when you just run Palace Guard and Horsemen like this. Like, they're going to die from that dive, but they will do serious damage before they go down.
Yeah, but now it's kind of tricky because you get this hand cannon mass slowly brewing. The ones that are near the ranges are discounted hand cannons. Very, very nice bonus. The push is stalled out again for Hatsimale, and one of the keeps goes down. And even if he kills this, even if the second keep stays up before he gets the gold, I don't think just starving Vertex out of gold is a win condition at this point. I think you kind of need a way to deal with what this Chinese late game is really going to look like. Although gold might be a really solid way to achieve that.
That's why I was kind of
It's tricky.
anticipating Hatsi maybe just getting trade going, because I think actually the civ that gets hurt more by running out of gold at this stage is the French, right? We know how the Imperial works. Usually it's Arbitrary and Knight's Mask. Both of those require gold. That.
Big engagement comes in. The hand cannons there, though, gonna easily deal with the palace guards in this situation.
Another, you destroyed my castle. It'd be a shame if I was to make another castle.
Oh, man. The Treb, if he had noticed in time, Vertex could have instantly targeted that, and I think he would have killed it. But the Springald's going down mean that the Treb can just hit it, and so therefore the to back, that's a lot of idle bills, but at this point, Hatsi's economy is balling, so he doesn't really mind so much.
Speaking of economy, Vertex shifting a huge chunk of his woodworkers to the north side. Now, we know up there is not safe. We know Hatsi was burning through in that area. So I wouldn't be surprised if he even thinks about like moving up, dropping some outposts or some castles. As it stands, Vertex, I think his villagers are stuck there. They're stuck, blocked by a wall, doing nothing in that area.
His own wall, so he could always delete to open it up. But yeah, this fight's really tough actually here for Vertex. He's just missing out on some upgrades now. That hand cannon mass is starting to grow. That wood line is not a wood line. It's just a scraggle of trees. What's a good word there? A word of trees. And oh, look at the micro on the hand cannons trying to avoid. A lonely tree, a single tree, yeah. Oh man, the bee. The bee is getting shots up on there.
Yeah, but
Royal
there's a cannon now, though. There's a cannon, and that's a key concern. Also, like, it's got to be said, like, hand cannoneers actually deal with horsemen pretty well. Like, I've talked to multiple pros on this. They usually just feel like horsemen flop dead when they try to chase after hand cannoneers.
Oh, but losing these cannons not going to be the biggest issue.
Stays alive for the moment. At least trades out one the nest to be. It's not an optimal trade for him, though. I would love to see the culverins. I think Hatsi's got one on the way to the front side because he did build in the College of Artillery. And if he gets a few culverins out and guards them well, like I don't think Vertex ever gets to manipulate siege like this.
Interesting that he's keeping the guild hall on food, and it seems he's clicking it pretty actively. Don't think he needs the food at this point. I feel like there's more valuable resources like stone, potentially, or even if you look at his wood income, his wood could be fixed. But there's a lot going on. Got to pay attention to everything, and Vertex.
Oh, culverins in play. Alright, this is where things get dicey for Vertex. Heavy investment in trebuchets, no way of protecting them. Culverin's going to start sniping them out. Treb return and fire into the Chinese defenses. Now, there is a lack of army to push and counter this right now. Hatsi has got enough hand cannoneers to stop Vertex from trickling in.
Yeah, this looks like the push here. I think we're finally looking at the push.
And he's got a bombard as well. Like, if he uses that cannon, shoots once, that castle's gone. Barbican won't last long behind that. Now, I'm looking at it, and you see the issue now for Vertex. There's a reason why he was on that one lonely tree. He has no wood.
No more wood. The middle of the map here really matters. That's kind of where all the stealth forests are. That's where all the main forests are. All the wood lines are forward on this map, it seems, at least on this generation. So yeah, that middle wood section was really important. Although I think Vertex has a small forest on the far corner, on the right.
I think he's exhausted that. Like, he's in the southern options blocks by Hatsi's keep down there on the gold vein. So like he has no wood. He has no way of getting access to wood right now.
Yeah, this is looking grim if he can't get it.
I think there's a villagers in the center. Either horseman or village. Okay, so he's trying to dive past. Yeah, look at the desperation here. Every tree deforestation is a problem, folks. You're seeing it here firsthand.
Yeah, and it's really brutal, especially if you're in the position where you have to make horsemen because you don't have gold. Horsemen chew through your wood faster than you think, right? It's when you're spamming them and they're just walking into a meat grinder. If horsemen keeps Arbitrary, right? Like you're just sinking through wood. Tree after tree goes down. Like this is gonna be more than a full tree dying on our screen right now. Think about that. Those trees, he's got a numbered amount of them.
Well, he might get some access. Hatsi overreacted here. He sent all the spearmen back to defend that.
Wow, if he kills the culverins and he can move his trebs up, but I think the trebs die. And the culverins have limited access, so if he kills them and the bombards, Hatsi's going to have to choose. But Hatsi's on 10k gold, plenty of food in the bank. Like, I feel like he can take a couple of bad trades here and still be okay. But
yeah,
if this keep goes down, the position opens up.
That's the thing. Like, Vertex needed this, and Hatsi just actually handed him a lifeline.
Look at he's trebbing down the lumber camp because he knows it's expensive. That's hilarious.
You're out of wood? Let's keep it that way. I want to see your villagers run across the map with some lumber over their back.
Elite Knight coming in now. for Hatsi. It's going to be a good option against the Palace Guard Horseman spam.
He has plenty of gold to work with. Like he went full Smeagol on the big stacks for gold. He's even gathering on the south side still. So definitely has the long-term capabilities with that comp. Especially now that he sees that Vertex is drained.
Full Smeagol. Sorry, I just want to highlight that that's pretty good. Yeah, playing pretty greedy there, just slurping it up, making sure it's all his. But some raids cutting through. Finally, Vertex maybe looking to do something offensive here. He's been very resilient so far, but these villagers with their big hats are still gonna die to the keep regardless. It's not much protection having a sun hat when there's wave after wave of arrows coming down on you.
Maybe if you like throw it in the archer's face, right? If you can't see you.
Oh, that's a lot of idle bills. This might be a tilting moment if you're Vertex.
That's half? That's at least a third of his economy.
Yeah. But he knows he's doing damage elsewhere. It's just, it doesn't really matter because Hatsimale doesn't need eco right now. He could go full pop and probably win the game, right?
Yep.
Full mill. But the
Like
Trebs,
he's helping
if they
him in
die
that
again. Oh my gosh.
Do you really need the Trebs as much anymore, though? Like, the castles are being burnt, right? So now it's just kind of the flood through is what you're looking for next.
I think it's a lot of your ways of making the trades, forcing good trades, right?
Yeah.
Is having siege that can kill buildings and threaten to push without having to commit your forces. You force the opponent to commit in your good terms, right? So like losing siege, I think is just always bad in late game AoE4. I don't think there's ever like a really good justification as this big fight comes in. Spearman against Horseman.
The villagers are on the move again. They're like, wait, there's fighting going on. If we just move in now, we can all get a little bit of wood. 14 wood each. Not bad, boys. Let's do it. He's actually fighting with them.
He needs wood?
Yeah, but
no income right now.
Winston, that's not how wood works, though. You don't kill the spearman and pick up his spear and go, that would be good for one of the lads. Instead, wait, Hatsi just GG'd. Hatsi just GG'd out.
What?
Huh?
Wait. That fight went well for Vertex, but what? What? I really actually don't have a response here. So what was his thought process? Was he getting raided to death? Did he think that the hold, he lost just control of that? Because Vertex had no siege. He wasn't going to have siege for a while. He didn't have stone for a keep. He didn't have gold for more units. Did we miss something in the south? Can we go back to the map still?
No, there's no way back.
No, we're spectating. Right.
He has all the resources. Yeah. Like, there is no, like, you know, yeah, Vertex is getting a little bit of ground. Maybe he just felt like China OP can't do anything. But he had infrastructure on the front side. He hadn't lost an irreparable amount of eco on the backside. There is no reason you resign there. Like, there's.
Can we go with the build count?
We're gonna have to double check. Like I don't think that maybe it's a DC or something. Maybe he just, like, I don't know, maybe Mum was calling and spaghetti was ready. He needed to get off the PC, but that doesn't make sense.
The only thing I can think of is, you know how he had two keeps kind of on the south side of Vertex's base? My only thought is maybe like one of the Trebs had just been plunking away and he lost all the gold miners and Vertex was going to get the gold back and he had won the fight in the middle to get the wood back, but I don't actually know if that even happened. It didn't look like that could have been happening at the same time, right?
It's like, we can free craft like ways that Vertex gets back into this, but he's still getting back into this, right? Like, I don't think getting that wood and even getting the gold means GG instantly for Hatsi. Like, Hatsi had
exactly
8k plus gold still in reserve. So he can still transition knights and arbitrary full. He can still build more siege. That is a scrappy affair. Maybe it was just a frustration for the Hatsi. Like, I could imagine that. It kind of felt like those fights as they went on were getting weirder and scrappier for him. So maybe he just couldn't be arsed. You know, the way I've heard late game described by some people is some people are just built in a sick and maniacal way that they enjoy late game. And some people are sane.